everybody, and welcome to Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. I am Brian, and this week I have a really interesting and, well, fun time capsule of sorts in the form of this Planet of the Apes collection I bought from Australia. Now, the backstory on me getting this is rather crazy. Just to give you a short summation, someone reached out to me last October saying they had some, a collection that belonged to a late relative, and would I be interested in it, or what could I tell them what it was worth? I looked at the sparse photos and said, "Yeah, it's worth X amount." They said, "Would you give us that?" And I said, "Sure." And then some things happened that were a little strange. The PayPal, they had to refund me because they couldn't get it to work. So then they wanted Western Union, which is a real red flag for me, but I did it. Something in my gut said that was fine. Nothing arrived for a couple months. When I wrote the person, they'd say, "Well, I'm on vacation, and I'll be back in 4 weeks or something like that, or 2 fortnights." And it eventually got returned. The person just kept getting in contact with me and telling me what was going on, which is the opposite of a scam. A scam, the person stops talking to you. And there were just so many little tells that I couldn't help but feel like, yeah, no, this is legit. So just be calm. And sure enough, 7 months later, it arrived. I'm very happy with it. And I unboxed it in the Pod Stallions group, but it just blew me away of how much stuff is in here and how much love is in here. This is an amazing little piece of history. So let's go through it, and then I'll explain why I'm so agog about this. The first thing I got was this folder. I wasn't expecting a folder with such a beautifully hand-drawn Dr. Zaius and Planet of the Apes logo. This kid had some penmanship, and I'm assuming this is like a preteen kid, but I can't really be sure. But inside was something I truly wasn't prepared for. There's a lot of interesting memorabilia and things that I honestly can totally relate to as a kid. First of all, there's a beautiful clipping poster of Planet of the Apes Galen, and this is from the TV Times. It's a poster portrait. But what's really awesome about this is very clearly some plastic wrap he found, and he taped it to a piece of cardboard. So it's just, poor man's lamination, but it worked and it looks amazing. There's also this awesome folder with shots from the TV series, a really great article, I guess from TV Week, April of 1975, when the show probably aired in Australia. And we've got some really neat promo photos. In fact, I don't even think I've seen that shot of Urko before. Going inside, though, this is the part that just kills me. He was a fanzine, or an aspiring fanzine publisher, I guess. There's a lot of articles about Planet of the Apes collectibles, Planet of the Apes fashion. There's some really, there's something about the class structure on the Planet of the Apes. It's really something else. This person was an aspiring Planet of the Apes fanzine writer. And oh yeah, here's what kind of clothes will the well-dressed talking ape wear 2,000 years from now? Will Orangutan City be the Paris of the future? I mean, this stuff is gold. I'm really glad I have that. As well, there is a letter writing campaign for the Planet of the Apes TV series to save it. And I'm actually going to scan some of these and put them on the site because they're awesome. Also littered in this package are little address cards with the president of CBS on them. So I guess that was where you were supposed to write your protest letter to save the series. And I love how it closes out. The sooner we all write, the sooner we will get results. The organization's name is Operation Ape Revival, or OAR. It's sad to say they were not successful in saving the Planet of the Apes television series, but God bless them for trying. One of my favorite bits about the fanzine production is that this person obviously had a lot of photocopies, probably taken from the library. And as a kid, I did the exact same thing. I would photocopy other magazines and then put together my own fanzines. And I guess that is why I do a toy magazine now. The next thing I discovered in this is this wonderful wrapper. This is a wax wrapper for the Planet of the Apes trading cards, but these are not tops. They're a company called Scanlens who released them in Australia. There's really not much difference between the tops wrapper and the Scanlens. I would imagine that the two biggest being, of course, the logos and the fact that there's far less of the Australian ones out there. However, I got a ton of these. This kid was truly a collector and did not throw anything away. I don't need this many, but I am thinking of holding a contest in the Pod Stallions Facebook group to give a few of these away to some folks I'm sure who would want them. Also included were trading cards. The Scanlens trading cards are the exact same as the tops. However, I have noticed that it seems like they're printed on a much thinner cardstock. They have a tendency to bend, as you can see by these photos that are catching the light. It's because they're just a little cheaper. I am happy to report that there is a full set in here, and I have tons of extras, which really made me happy. I am not a huge gum card guy, but I have thought about buying the top set just out of nostalgia. I had these as a kid. But this will be perfect. It's a perfect proxy. And now I have a full set of Planet of the Apes trading cards. Also included were a few of these wonderful, I guess they're like costumes. You know, they're like Halloween costumes, except they don't come with the pants. They're just a smock you put on, and it's got a gorilla face on it. And I honestly don't know where this originates from. I tried to look it up. I thought maybe it would be from a show bag. That's something that's very collectible in Australia. They have this event called The Show, and there's, Doctor Who and Kiss and all this other licensed product, but I haven't been able to find it. Hopefully one of my Australian friends will be able to identify where this comes from. But it's just a really cool image of a gorilla, and I could see why a Planet of the Apes obsessed kid would want this. I would have wanted this. So one of the bigger curiosities in here is an ad. I think it's photocopied out of a comic book that says, Planet of the Apes, at last, the complete survival kit. And this was an Australian promotion because it's actually listed in the collectibles guide this guy was publishing. Each kit contains a giant color poster, a 44-page Planet of the Apes comic, 2 Planet of the Apes bumper stickers, a giant Planet of the Apes writing pad, and a super-sized notepad that's also apes. I'm imagining that maybe some of these illustrations came from that notepad, like this Dr. Zaius. But there isn't a lot left of this kit. However, one thing remains, and it's probably my favorite, and that is this poster. This is just a really beautiful piece of work, and it's definitely, I'm not sure if it's an actual cover. I can't remember. I don't have all the Planet of the Apes magazines. I have a stack of them, but this is really something special, and I absolutely plan on framing this and sticking it to the very last bit of wall in my basement next to my office. I want to see this every day on my way to work. I just want to do a quick reminder of our shop. We have 9 issues of Toy Ventures magazine available. It is an old school print toy collector magazine featuring toys from the 60s to the 1990s, and there is a lot of Planet of the Apes goodness in there. I've also got other things in the shop, such as my book Knock-Offs, and a series of collector pins. The link is below, and I appreciate your support. Next, we get to the toys. These Planet of the Apes parachutists are very similar to the HI. They're almost identical in every way. They were imported by a company called Croner, who did some really interesting things, and I'll be getting into them more on Toy Ventures. I wasn't originally planning on keeping these, because I have a couple on the card, but there's 2 reasons that I want to. One, I discovered that the Croner card is just slightly smaller than the US AHI card, which is something I did not know. But the other thing, and it just took me back to my beginning days of being a collector as a teenager, and that was he's carefully cut out the back so he could play with the figure, but then later on display it. And that totally reminds me of me in the 80s. I would buy these mint on card Megos, And, I knew I was supposed to not take them off the card, but I'm still half kid. And I would, carefully exacto them out of the bubbles and ruin their value for future collectors. But you know what? I had fun, and who cares? And I don't know. There's some sort of kindred spirit shining thing going on. I really feel like I was supposed to have these. Now, this is the item that led me to the slot. This was the thing I wanted to keep. Now I'm keeping the majority of it. It's funny how that works. But this was the Action Ape Man figure, also by Croner. This is an interesting figure. There were Action Ape Men in the United States by AHI, and you can see the side-by-side example that there is some, sharing of artwork and the head sculpt. But the Croner Action Ape Man is on what we call a Tong body. That's a Mego Knock-Off type thing, and it's actually the superior figure. More articulation. They're really well made, the Tong bodies, and they're really tough to find. So yes, sadly, I do not have the back of this blister. This is the one blister he didn't save the back to. But again, the charm of it, the idea that where this comes from and the heritage it brings is more important to me than a C10 mint on card. I'm very satisfied with this guy, and I'm excited to add him to the Planet of the Apes case. I've done a video on that, and I am going to revise my collection display this weekend to showcase this a little better. So that is my look at this amazing Planet of the Apes collection find. I really find this thing special, and that's why I wanted to share it. You can kind of feel the love. All this paperwork I think I'm going to scan and share to the various Planet of the Apes collectors groups. This is the kind of stuff that just, I don't know, it just makes me smile. So yeah, even though I didn't intend to keep any of this stuff, other than the few pieces I'm going to probably give to friends and away in the Pod Stallions group, this is sticking around. I am going to be the caretaker of this until someone else is a caretaker of my stuff. So that's it for this week. Thank you as always for sticking around and watching. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and maybe subscribe. We do this every week. If you're not new to this, please consider hitting like anyways, or share it with a friend. It would really help me out. Until next time, my friends, be well, talk toys, not other people, and have an awesome weekend in the Planet of the Apes.